We go back to our special guest today, Naveen, who is a Caltech alumnus, a PhD candidate at MIT Chemical Engineering, stand-up comedian, a bartender, a motivational speaker, a rapper, and also a passionate partier. So please join me to welcome Naveen.
All right, let me get set up here. In the meanwhile, thanks to Mai for the very generous introduction. I would also like to say that I'm not a motivational speaker, at least not by trade, so I will do my best to try to motivate you. And speaking of motivation, Mai's introduction was very interesting, and now I'm very motivated to figure out what that was all about. So let's get started. So the title of this talk is Motivation at MIT, and why you have what it takes for impact and success. So here I have a picture of the dome, which you're all familiar with, and we also have a picture of Lisa Su, the CEO of AMD. I'll be talking quite a bit about both of these topics, and the reason why I wanted to talk about motivation today is because motivation is a topic very close to my heart. During COVID and during my PhD, I've experienced very high highs and very low lows, and the lowest lows came because of my attitudes towards work. And in these slides, I'll be talking about certain realizations that I had that made me realize what I wanted to do and why I wanted to do it, and sort of helped me get out of the low lows when it came to doing work. So here's a picture that you're all familiar with. This is the MIT Dome. And as you can see, it's very nice, very grassy, very alive. But when you came to MIT, you saw this dome and you probably felt amazing. But then after a while, you were mired in work, and classes, and work. And you probably had a very different impression of MIT after this. Now the thing is, your view of MIT is shaped by your experiences here. And especially by what you focus on. This is all brain chemistry. If you focus on the positives, you feel positive things. You focus on the negatives, you feel negative things. So I'm going to show you an illusion to sort of drive home this point in a very concrete way. You might be familiar with this illusion. It's called Troxler's fading illusion. So I want you to focus on the plus in the center of the slide for a few seconds until the whole slide fades to gray. Do any of you see it? Now you might notice that if you're staring at the plus and you dart your eyes a little, the colors come back. So why am I showing this slide? I'm showing this to you because during your time at MIT, you might have seen your motivation to do things fade as you start noticing the good things less and you start noticing the bad things more, or you start being desensitized to the amazing things that you associate with MIT. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to help you dart your eyes a little bit and feel different emotions towards MIT. So I'm going to start out with a small exercise. I'll let you guys talk among yourselves for a few seconds, and then I'll ask you for some words to describe this. How did you feel when you got accepted to MIT?
I didn't hear my name. I thought we were talking amongst ourselves. Right?
Yeah, just talk amongst yourselves. How do you feel when you got accepted?
It was a cool feeling.
A cool feeling, right?
I mean,
You know that you are going to the best place in the world.
I mean, I actually didn't feel anything because the application system goes like this. You click into it and then they show you the result, right? And then the system sort of screws up and then I can't see my result, so.
I see.
I was like, well, okay.
Some interesting technology from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
Maybe in our case it was really easy.
Yeah.
So we have felt great, felt nothing. What about you guys?
It's like two ends of the spectrum. I mean, does anyone feel depressed?
Yeah. Anyone feel sad?
It's like, oh, I didn't get the HBS.
Well, I think we can have a general consensus here that no one felt bad when they got into MIT. Now, the next question is, how do you feel during your average day at MIT? At least these days. I'll let you guys discuss.
I really have depression because of No, not because of the study.
Uh-huh.
It's a lack of communication with people.
Uh-huh.
Because I think I'm a very social person, and I'm seeing that everyone is stuck with their education, no eye contact. I see that a lot of beautiful girls, and you don't know what to say them because they're just reading there and looking to the computers.
I see. So a lack of social interaction contributes to some of these feelings, but these are probably things that you didn't anticipate when you got in. What else? How do you all feel?
The text it speaks.
So when I made this slide, I was anticipating answers like maybe stressed, maybe average, just normal, so-so. But as you can tell, the answers that we're getting are very different from the answers from the previous slide. How do you feel when you got into MIT? And I'm gonna make the case that how you feel about MIT depends on where your focus is. You can view things in two different ways. You can view things as, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do, I'm struggling. Or you can view things as, I'm on the way to the peak, or even I'm already at the peak. When you got into MIT, you almost certainly felt like the person on the right. But once you ended up there, you just end up looking to higher heights and feeling a bit stressed. So, in the next few slides, I'm going to be talking about how we can shift our focus. And to do this, I'm going to focus on a certain figure. I'm going to focus on Lisa Su from AMD, who is an alumnus of MIT, and someone who I consider a role model for impact and success. Now, why do I view Lisa Su as a role model? Like, why Lisa Su specifically? So on the right, I pulled up a meme that I found really hilarious. If you can't read it from there, it says, never ask a woman her age, a man his salary, and an indie musician why their parents' names are blue on Wikipedia.
Naveen, how old am I?
Sorry?
How old am I?
How old?
Yeah.
How old are you?
Yeah.
Oh no, you made me do the thing. Alright. But anyways, so the reason why I found this meme pretty funny is because a lot of people who are traditionally considered role models, once you do a little bit of research into their background, you find that they're like extremely privileged in some way, and I found this a bit frustrating. You look them up and you find out that their parents were like big shots or something, or they lent them a small loan of $1 million or whatever, right? But Lisa Su is someone who I basically consider one of us, more or less. She's an MIT alumnus, she's from middle-class background, both her parents work, they're engineers. She completed her bachelor's, master's, and PhD at MIT, and she encountered similar struggles to us doing her undergrad and also during her actual career. And she achieved many great things in unrelated areas, ranging from academics to research and development in companies to her role as a CEO at AMD. And she learned to thrive in times of turbulence. Now, to further drive home this fact, here's an article that I featured talking about how Lisa Su was solely responsible for a 1,300% stock gain in AMD. AMD was struggling back in the day because they were trying to go into IoT devices and gaming. And these sectors were responsible for a good chunk of their profits, but they weren't promising. So what Lisa Su did when she got appointed as CEO was decide to start focusing on what AMD could be really good at, which is high-performance computing. And below, I've shown the results of this decision to focus on what AMD is good at. Lisa Su is the #1 highest paid CEO in the world. Her total compensation is $58 million, above the Discovery CEO and the Walt Disney CEO. Lisa Su is the subject of many memes and much adulation because of her achievements. And here you can see a very detailed analysis of AMD's stock. The red line shows AMD's fair value based on balance sheets, and the black line shows the actual value of AMD. And it's demonstrated that there is a Lisa Su premium of about 20 to 30%. So the fact that Lisa Su is the CEO of AMD is responsible for a huge amount of the stock's price, and that's because Lisa Su, her contributions are expected to yield really high returns in the future. She even has a subreddit called AMD, where they make memes about AMD's success relative to Intel. Here's a meme. I'm not gonna like walk through what all the jargon means, but on the left you have Lisa Su as the CEO of AMD, and then you got the CEO of Intel on the right. So here is a Lisa Su quote. "It is really important to decide what you're really, really good at, because you have to be the best, number one or number two." Now, when it comes to PhD work or when you're doing your master's thesis, you might be struggling and you might decide, why don't I find something else to be really good at? I can be number one or number two in that. But you got to realize that at MIT, you're already on the path to being number one or number two in your field. So I'm going to make the case for you to stick to your field that you're already in. So there are two works that I want to refer to. They're both by Cal Newport. And these really shaped the way I think about work and how it fits into my life. So on the left, you got Deep Work, which just follows the title. It talks about why deep work is good. So why it's good to focus on a certain topic, even if you may or may not enjoy the day-to-day activities involved in it. And on the right is so good they can't ignore you, which kind of follows into my things that I've said about Lisa Su being so excellent at her career that she's risen to be the #1 highest paid CEO. So I'm going to introduce a model of passion. So you probably hear the word passion a lot. Who all heard the word passion when they were applying to schools? No one? Well, at least for me in undergrad, they always threw around the word passion. They said you had to be passionate about this, passionate about that. But I didn't really understand what that meant because like in high school, I wasn't sure what to be passionate about. And also in business schools and so on and so forth, they tend to tell you to focus on your passion, find out what really drives you, and then work towards that. Now, in Cal Newport's books, he basically makes the argument that passion derives from skill, and the more skill you have in something, the more you enjoy it, and the more motivation you have to do work, and the more work you do, the more you build skill. Now, the typical model that's presented to people in terms of developing passion is to start with what you enjoy. So do you enjoy the idea of, I don't know, being an excellent artist or being an excellent researcher, so on and so forth? And whether or not you might actually be developing skill in this passion, you're encouraged to pursue it anyway. However, this is a relatively recent development coming from motivational speeches in the 80s. Essentially the idea that you're born with an innate passion and then you follow it and develop success from there. However, Cal Newport's books suggest that you flip this on its head and start by developing competence. So if there's something that you want to do that you can be really good at, and it's been demonstrated that doing work can increase your competence in it, you'll grow to enjoy it, and you'll be motivated to do more work. And doing more work develops your competence, and the more you'll enjoy the work. And I think Lisa Su is a good example of this. She's experienced success in many different areas. So on the left here is a copy of her PhD thesis title, which is Extreme Sub-Micrometer Silicon and Insulator MOSFETs. And on the right, I have a picture of her in her Innovators Under 35 profile. And this was for work completely unrelated to her PhD at Intel. And on the bottom right shows a result of one of her achievements at AMD, which is going into exascale computing. So all these three different areas are completely different, yet she's managed to find success in all of them. And if she followed the model of following your passion to begin with, suppose she was very passionate about MOSFETs. I'm not sure if anyone is passionate about MOSFETs, but suppose she was passionate about that, then she would basically be shoehorned into working on MOSFETs her whole life. But rather, I believe she took the approach of taking whatever job she was assigned to, developing a high degree of competence in it, and developing a passion for it as a result. This slide reiterates what I just said. She's excelled in roles as a student, an R&D scientist in Intel, and a CEO at AMD. So I think what we can learn from Lisa Su and from the Cal Newport books is that if you're not currently enjoying your work, you don't have to start in the cycle from enjoyment. You don't have to come up with reasons to enjoy the work you're currently doing. You can start later in the cycle and start with just simply developing competence in your field. So if there's something you're struggling with or something you're procrastinating because you just don't feel enjoyable working on it, you should really consider just sitting down and challenging yourself to do the things that you don't want to do, especially when you don't want to do them, and developing some skill and competence so that you can enjoy it more and sort of kick off the cycle. And I've shown a picture of someone working out here as an analogy to the idea that if you work out in the gym, you can build more muscle and it becomes easier to go to the gym in the future. In a similar way, you can challenge yourself to do the work that you don't want to do, and it becomes easier as a result, and then this whole cycle is self-catalyzing. To summarize this, here's a quote that's actually from Lisa Su, which kind of embodies this philosophy. So when asked why she chose electrical engineering at MIT, she said, "I just had a great curiosity about how things worked. Electrical engineering, particularly at MIT, was the hardest major. So I said, how about we try that and see how it goes?" I think this is a really nice way of approaching things. Essentially, agnostic of what field she's in, she's ready to embrace challenge and work on it towards success. So I'm going to end this with a short exercise. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is to commit to daily workouts to improve your ability to embrace challenges. The second thing I'm going to do is ask you, which tasks are you avoiding right now? What's something that you need to be working on right now for your work that you're not doing? I'll let you guys discuss this, and then feel free to discuss the questions afterwards. And I'll leave you with this. Are you ready to face the challenges, and are you ready to face these similar challenges every day? Thank you. All right, yeah, feel free to discuss if you're just avoiding anything and what you're gonna do today to work on it.